The solar company will have to pay for that. Now, I'm asking for it to protect our township.
Let me.
Want to answer?
Yes,
Take a
please,
shot.
Victor. Please.
I mean, honestly, this has nothing to do with an expert in solar. It has an expert to do in zoning, okay? This agreement, and frankly, the entire project was done under the terms of the township's zoning ordinance. It was approved by the planning commission. It was approved, there was a final site plan that was approved by the planning commission that set forth exactly all of the conditions and everything that had to be done with respect to the project. If there was any time for an expert to come in and provide input or advice, it would have been probably at that time when it was before the planning commission.
Yes.
But that ship has sailed, okay, that ship has sailed.
And
The project is
experts were
approved.
given,
Let him finish, please. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm done, the project's approved, okay? So all we're doing right now is approving a decommissioning agreement which secures the township, quite frankly, okay?
Yeah.
They have the right, okay, both under the development agreement that was just approved and the approval of the planning commission and the final site plan to move that project forward. They have that right, that's all been approved now. What the decommissioning agreement is, it's an extra agreement that provides security for the township to make sure that at such time when the project becomes non-usable or should be removed for whatever reason, there's security there for the township to make sure that it's gonna be done, basically, okay? And this security agreement, this first word security agreement, has a provision in there, quite frankly, that they have to put up 2.591, 2.591 million, okay, 572. They have to put up that money into an escrow, or not an escrow, either a letter of credit or a bond, to secure their obligation to decommission the project when and if that time ever comes. So, again, the decommissioning agreement is for the purpose of protecting the township. And,
Mick, could I have one note?
Wait,
Sorry, I didn't interrupt.
yeah.
you can't recognize them.
I'm not. I can ask you a crazy question with the decommissioning and so on. Because of inflation of what it is, and if the time ever comes, they have to clean this up, and there's not enough of money in escrow.
There's a provision in this agreement that deals with that.
All right.
Okay? And it requires them to maintain the value of the cost of the decommissioning. They have to maintain that every 5 years for the first 20 years, okay? They have to provide an updated figure for what it's going to cost to decommission that project. They'll have to have their experts take a look at what it's gonna cost to tear everything out and remove everything and bring the property back to near agricultural uses or agricultural purposes, as the case may be. And so every 5 years for the first 20, they have to update that figure. We have to approve that figure, and if we don't, then there might be a little bit of dispute. There's a provision in the decommissioning agreement that deals with how that dispute will be resolved. After 20 years, every 2 years, okay, they have to update those figures. So it's built in, you know, inflation, an inflationary factor is built into this to make sure that, you know, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, or whenever it is, that there's a sufficient amount of money in security to take care of it. And let me just also say, okay, the security that's provided for in this decommissioning agreement is really only if, okay, they don't comply with their obligation to decommission the project on their own. The development agreement, the decommissioning agreement, they're contracts that require them, okay, to decommission the project themselves, okay, when the time comes. The only time that we will, have to do anything with respect to that is if they don't fulfill their obligations under the agreements. And when that happens, okay, that's why we have the additional protection of the decommissioning security.
And that's a question I had too, that who oversees all this? I mean,
What do you mean, who oversees?
I mean, over the, the project, itself, as
Well-
it goes along.
Well, the township's gonna have to have some input in that, and the development agreement sets forth what the, what the relationship between the parties is, okay?
Yeah.
And how that relationship should, proceed through the life of the project, basically.
Yeah, right.
So you'll need to
I have a
be able to
question.
take a look at the development agreement. I mean, that's what you have the development agreement for.
Right.
It sets forth what happens if, how the relationship is gonna move forward, basically, with respect to the construction, operation, the management of the project, and then the decommissioning of the project. So
Okay.
it's all there. I mean, look, you're not gonna be overlooking their shoulders probably all the time, but somebody here at the township will have to take, an interest and,
Be appointed.
yeah, and you do have your engineer, okay? Your engineer
Yeah.
will probably be involved with respect to the construction of the project to make sure it
Okay.
gets constructed in accordance with the final site plan. Understand that that final site plan that was approved by the planning commission sets forth exactly what they can and can't do on the property, okay? Again, that was approved by the planning commission. That's the Bible. That's the Bible for what the project looks like, how it's gonna be developed, and how it's supposed to operate. So you will have to rely upon your engineer,
Yeah.
maybe the planner with respect to certain, parts of it, but yeah, there will be some obligation for the township to be cognizant of all of this, so
Right.
that when issues do come up, that, you'll be able to deal with it. You'll be able to take a look at the development agreement, or you call your attorney at the time, and you'll ask him to take a look at the agreement. You'll ask him you'll describe to him what the issue is, what the problem is that you're looking at. And, between the township and your attorney and your other consultants, you'll figure out and if you need to do anything, okay?
Okay.
And again,
That's it.
My question is what are they gonna do when it contaminates the groundwater? What are they gonna do with all the broken panels when they get broke by the hail? I wanna know how they're disposing of them. I wanna know how you're going to deal, or how they're going to deal with a giant sized uncontrollable flint.
Did you have a look at the packet? Did you look
Listen,
at
there
what was
is no
in?
way to control contamination in the groundwater.
well, I mean, these issues were looked at by the planning commission, and the planning commission, again, gave approval of the final site plan. And there's a lot of materials in the final site plan that deals with a lot of these issues, and
From what I understand, the planning commission voted it down.
What's that?
From what I understand, the planning commission
That's
voted
not
it
true.
down.
That's not true.
Well, that's
The
why
planning
there was
commission-
conclusive
let me-
lawsuit.
Let me just finish here, okay? So there are two projects here, okay? There's Rail Splitter 1, okay, and then there's Rail Splitter 2. Rail Splitter 1 is a project that has been proceeding since 2016, and that was approved by the planning commission. It was not turned down by the planning commission. Rail Splitter 2, okay, was a project that was ultimately refused by the planning commission, then it was appealed to the circuit court by then Ranger Power, and it wasn't Rail Splitter, Ranger Power, and there was a settlement agreement that resolved all of the issues related to Rail Splitter 2. So Rail Splitter 2 is now approved by virtue of a consent judgment order that basically sets forth pretty much all of the same requirements, and maybe even more, related to development of the project, similar to a development agreement. When that consent judgment was
How much money has
negotiated
been put aside
and
for
resolved.
the contamination of the water aquas?
Well, and again,
Just
I
read
don't,
your packet, is all I say, is if you wanted that,
I
this
don't
was
know
all in
if,
the
I don't know if
packets
they
and
have anything
everything.
to say about that, but.
I have two planning
So-
commission members here. Can you
No,
speak?
wait, a minute.
Yeah.
If we're not gonna allow someone else here to
It's a
talk,
Yeah,
we're
all right,
allowed,
okay.
it's not
Well,
fair.
when there was a
So
comment
this
made,
gentleman right here is the attorney for Rail Splitter.
okay,
I don't wanna hear from real
but
splitters.
what I'm saying is.
Okay, you don't get to
there-
pick and choose who
when
you
there was-
wanna hear from and not, we have to hear all sides.
Okay, wait,
He's the one.
I'm
Yeah,
not
wait,
representing them, I'm
Wait,
representing the
wait.
residents.
Gabby, please, I'm trying to get some, no, when the comment was made that, the planning commission voted against it, I was just trying to show that they didn't you didn't vote against it. The rail splitter and so on. That's what the question, that's why I was pointing to them to answer it. You know, that's what it was.
Oh, yeah, well,
Yeah.
Nick's already said, 2016, the
Right,
first one was
right.
already approved by Ed, the second one was taken through course and the courts
Right.
decided, so those answers.
But I'm saying if there was
have been-
any question too, that, you know, the truthfulness, they're sitting right there. But yeah.
I'm not lying for it.
Yeah. But, anyways, back to where we're at here with this. So, is there anything else we need to add to this?
Well, it's up to you. I mean, that's why I'm here. I'm here to address any questions that you might have related.
All right, so now, not to interrupt, but so now it comes down to about money being in escrow, who controls it, and that safeguards in there too.
Well, you know, we had that conversation about, you know, there was a concern about a New York bank. Now, they backed off of that, and that was in one of the exhibits to the decommissioning agreement, the form letter of credit, which was part of the, you know, what needed to be reviewed for purposes of, you know, my review of this and approval of it. A letter of credit, initially, they wanted to use New York Bank and have that New York Bank issue a letter of credit under New York law.
Right.
We discussed that thoroughly,
Right.
and it was determined that that was not an appropriate New York law. And so any letter of credit that's issued by, whether it's a New York bank, a Michigan bank, or any other bank, quite frankly, is gonna be controlled under Michigan law. So,
Right.
so that's.
So that's squared away.
Right.
Yeah, okay. All right,
I have a
well,
question.
go ahead, Chris, I'm sorry, I didn't call you back on you, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Chris.
Whose responsibility will it be to clean that up if rail splitter 1 or 2 or whatever you wanna call these guys? If they file bankruptcy?
Well, we will have the security, okay? I mean, the security is not rail splitter, okay? It's in an independent institution, whether it's a bond or it's a bank, okay? That bond or that letter of credit will be there, and at the first sign of the inability of rail splitter to not perform their obligations under the decommissioning agreement to decommission, it will be incumbent upon the township to then make a claim on the bond and or the letter of credit, whichever is there, and it may be a combination of them. And frankly, you know, under the terms of the bond contract or the letter of credit contract, which are attached to the agreement here,
Okay,
They will have to
I
pay.
understand that, but what I wanna know is, when you get right down to it, there's a dollar value. How much of that dollar value will protect this township?
well, whatever being held, okay, whether it's in the bond, is, again, you know, right now.
No, give me a dollar figure.
Right now, it's 2.5917572, 2,591,572. That's what the
That's not a
estimated.
lot of money.
No, it's not. And how are they gonna dispose of these? They can't get rid of them. They cannot get rid of them in a landfill.
This is for, you know, tearing up the project, basically, 2 million, and this was,
Is that money set aside to cover
it will
the
be.
cost? No,
It will be.
cover the cost, all 100% of the cost, so it doesn't cost this township any money.
Well,
Are
that.
they gonna pay for the removal, going through and having everything moved correctly, not just dumped somewhere in a landfill? Because there's a lot of carcinogens in these panels, a lot, more than you how much people, you can understand how much carcinogens are in one panel. How do we get rid of it? Do we throw it in a landfill somewhere here?
And not only that, after they get done using the property, it can't be returned back to farmland. So what you're doing is you're increasing the amount of bad property we have here in this township.
Because people, when they get rid of this stuff, they've got to dig down now, think about 3 feet into the soil to remove 3 feet of soil and then replace it. You just can't take 6 inches
And a
off
lot
the
of this,
top.
Chris, if you read the decommissioning statement. A lot of what you're discussing is addressed in the
No,
agreement that you have in front of
It's not
you.
addressed to the finite point. What they do is they're just saying broadly.
Yeah.
I think
This
it's
is why I
all
asked for it
in
to
there,
be
isn't it?
filed and
They have to-
received so we can go through it thoroughly.
See, wait,
Well, we're a little
This
bit-
is
we're a
every
little
meeting,
beyond
rush,
that.
rush,
we're beyond
rush.
that,
Yeah.
so let's move.
Okay.
So, Victor.
Well, if you want, make a motion to,
I made a motion to file and receive.
Well, what's
all right,
in
I
there
second that
is
motion.
That it be decommissioned, okay? And there's a decommissioning plan, okay? And that decommissioning plan sets forth how it will be decommissioned, that's correct, okay? So, how it's supposed to be decommissioned, they have to follow that plan. So that's an entirely,
yeah.
that's an entirely separate document that's attached as exhibit 4.
And it's in the packet. I attached it all.
As exhibit
It is
4
all in the
to.
packet, most of this packet is that, so.
All right, Debbie made a motion, Chris seconded it, so I have to entertain it.
Okay, so this, the motion was to, receive and file. What was the motion? We can't receive and file it if we're not doing anything with it. So the motion to table it, maybe?
Yeah,
Yeah.
motion table. Okay,
Wait a second, let me get it. We're not, don't worry.
Quite a few. They took EQ property and they bought Schultz's property.
Okay, do a roll call.
okay, Susan,
No.
David's absent, Debbie,
What are we voting on?
your motion,
Oh,
table it.
yes.
Linda,
No.
Chris,
Yes.
Shelby, no, Kim,
No.
okay, all right. All right.
So I would
But
make a motion.
Wait, before I need one more question, I'll make it quick.
Sure.
There's, what, $2 million that's gonna be put in escrow?
Yes,
That's it?
2.5.
2.5, okay. And I was just, my head, thinking, it really doesn't seem like it's an awful lot for decommissioning, considering the volume of the work that has to be done to get rid of this stuff.
Well, the decommissioning from our perspective
Yeah.
is really just removing everything that they install.
Right,
And it's their obligation to get rid of it, okay? So-
right, I understand that.
So it means pulling everything up, taking all of the, I'm not somebody who can guesstimate what that is.
Right.
I didn't come up with that figure, okay? Their engineer came up with that figure and it was reviewed, I believe by Mike
Peterson, right,
who said, okay, that's a reasonable figure.
all right,
Again, this is gonna come up, this is gonna come up again in 5 years.
right.
So, in 5 years, I probably won't be there.
Yeah,
But in 5 years, it's gonna be
analyzed, so
constantly
it's not
reviewed.
gonna come out
Exactly.
short.
All right.
Exactly. And here's another part of this. Initially,
Please, everybody out there, please.
Initially, when we started looking at this, I mean, their idea of the decommissioning was that, there wouldn't be any decommissioning for the first 10, 15, 20 years, or if any, the possibility or the chance of that happening was very low. So they wanted to start out a little bit with less of a security. But we took the position that, we want 100% of that security right from the
Right.
get-go, okay? We want to know that money is there, because everything that you're saying, everything that they're saying, because we do not want to be stuck with this. okay?
Right.
So we want to make sure, again, that there is security there, that in the event they do not comply with their obligations to get rid of it, okay? That we have the kitty, we have the security there, okay, to take care of the
With
problem.
interest too, correct?
Well, there won't be any
I'm
interest.
not interested in that, but inflation, I mean,
With the
it's work.
inflationary, with every 5
So,
years,
yeah,
it'll be
so
increased.
that's-
So
that was
so
my
understand,
point, Brian, is
and
that-
again, I have to emphasize, okay, assuming they do what they're required to do under the agreement, and just understand too, we'll always have the right to go ahead, and if they decide to walk away from it for some reason or another, we could always sue them, okay? okay? Because under the contracts, basically, both the decommissioning contract and the development agreement, if the security was for one reason or another not enough, but, you know, again, you know, the determination of what the security is going to be is gonna come up again in 5 years.
Right,
You guys will decide, okay,
Yeah.
is it or is it not enough?
right. All right, call the vote. Let's get moving here.
Okay, I will make a motion to approve draft resolution 2421, a resolution to approve the decommissioning agreement for the rail splitter 1.
Second.
Susan,
Yes.
David's absent, Debbie,
Nope.
Linda,
Yes.
Chris,
Nope.
Shelby, yes, Kim?
Yes.
All right, moving on to the second one, approve the rail splitter decommissioning agreement, RS2.
Now, let me just go ahead and just give a little bit of a preface on what this is for sure, because this is related to.
That needs to be filed
Wait,
with
let her
too.
finish, Debbie, please.
this
Go
is-
ahead.
This is related to the one that was involved in the lawsuit, Rail Splitter 2, okay?
Okay,
Now, this decommissioning agreement that is on the table right now for review and approval was also attached to the consent judgment that was entered, and it was approved as part of the consent judgment. Now, there've been some modifications, mostly minor modifications, but there've been some modifications to it. So my point is that in this case, okay, there is a consent judgment out there that basically, you know, approves this decommissioning agreement, and we're bound by that, frankly, so I'll just
Alright.
throw that in there, but we agreed to it already.
just for the heck of it, and for people to maybe understand and know, I really don't like any of this, but I'm just saying it's on our lap. If we were to vote no on all this, what's the consequences?
Well, that would be up to them, but I would say that, you know, if we just vote no on it, that we've got, you know, what we're doing here is we're in the position of trying to put into place the final pieces that are required by the ordinance, okay? Both, the ordinance requires both the decommissioning agreement and the development agreement. So what we're doing is we're just putting in the final pieces here to comply with our own ordinance. So what would a lawsuit look like if they decided to come after us for that? You know, if we decide not to do it, okay, they're likely to want to move this thing forward in some form or fashion. I don't want to say, I don't want to give them any ideas. I have my own ideas of what they might do, but I don't think I want to voice that opinion.
So we'd be going against our own laws.
Vic, I'd like to know what's the benefits of this solar farm coming into Augusta Township? What is it gonna do for the residents?
Well, you know something, I can't answer that, that's not what I do, okay? The policy of allowing these things or not allowing these things, that's not what I do, okay? That was a decision that was made to a certain extent when the ordinance was adopted that permitted these things, okay? Do I necessarily like solar projects? I'm not gonna say that I particularly do generally, okay? But the reality is that the ordinance permits it, okay? And if the ordinance permits it, and frankly, not only does the ordinance permit it now, but I see there's a new resolution here. We don't want to accept what the state is doing with respect to shoving some of this stuff down our throats. I appreciate that, okay, because I agree with that. But the reality is that
It's
the
state
state
law
has
that
already,
they cannot
the state has already,
build these on
to
viable
a
farm
certain
property.
extent, taken this out of our hands. And frankly, it's a little bit better for us to use our own ordinances rather than the state law, although there may be some benefits to state law. We've proceeded under our own ordinances.
I have a
Our
question.
ordinance
Wait a second, let me finish.
permits this, so we'd be going against our own ordinances, especially at this point when it's already approved.
All right, go on, Chris.
All
what
right,
you
I have a
said.
question. There's 3 questions here. How much do we get from taxes on the solar? How much do we get a percentage of the profits they make?
We don't get any of the profit.
Okay,
All we're gonna
so-
get is what a farm would pay.
I understand that, Debbie, I'm asking the questions just so the people will know. We are not getting any tax dollars off it.
Well, I think
We're
there are
not getting a
tax dollars.
percentage of the
that's not
profits.
There are tax
That is
dollars.
not true.
There are tax dollars.
Yeah, but it's not,
Yes.
tax
you're
dollars
gonna
is not the same as, the money we're gonna get off there is nothing to compare, let's say, a business coming in, a hospital coming in.
Those are farmlands, okay, so, you know,
All
I don't
you're
have.
gonna get is the taxes from the
From
farm.
the taxes.
Okay, that's already been researched out a long time ago. There is no benefit to this township for this solar farm to go in.
Well,
Okay,
that's-
all right, let's move, I gotta move on. All right,
Get suckered again.
make your motion, Kim, for that.
Okay, so I would make a motion to approve the draft resolution 2422 to approve the decommissioning agreement for the rail splitter 2.
Second.
Susan,
Yes.
David's absent, Debbie,
No.
Linda,
Yes.
Chris,
No.
Shelby, yes, Kim,
Yes.
okay. Moving on, you have another one that's 2423.
Yeah, so this one came over to us from the planning commission. They have asked us to adopt the resolution. Okay, a resolution expressing support to maintain local control over local land uses, including but not limited to short-term rentals, industrial solar installations, industrial wind turbine installations, battery storage installations, and sand and gravel mining. Whereas local townships are best able to determine which uses should and should not be their local communities and what plans are best and reasonable for each neighborhood, rather than having these decisions forced upon townships by the state government without the township's best interest at hand. And whereas the legislature of the state of Michigan may propose and attempt to pass into law bills that strip away local community control over local land uses, including but not limited to short-term rentals, industrial solar installations, installation wind turbine installations, battery storage installations, sand and gravel mining. And whereas the Board of Augusta Charter Township is committed to protecting our community's lands from special interests trying to strip away local control. Now therefore, be it resolved, it needs to say, therefore be it resolved, I'm gonna have to change that. The Board of Augusta Charter Township resolves as follows. Section 1. Augusta Charter Township is opposed to the legislation of the state of Michigan proposing and passing bills that take away the otherwise limit local control over local land uses, including but not limited to short-term rentals, industrial solar installations, industrial wind turbine installations, battery storage installations, and sand and gravel mining. Section 2, Augusta Charter Township is opposed to the construction, operation, maintenance, repair, replacement, and decommissioning of industrial wind facilities, industrial solar facilities, battery storage facilities, sand and gravel mines, and similar uses in our community unless these projects comply with the township ordinance and regulations. Section 3, Augusta Charter Township supports the longstanding right of local community self-determination as provided by the laws and construction of the state of Michigan and Constitution of the state of Michigan. Section 4, as the members of the Board of Augusta Charter Township, we resolve to maintain the duties and responsibilities bestowed upon us as elected representatives of our constituents to execute their will to the best of our abilities in this matter. So I would make a motion to approve resolution 2423, a resolution to express support to maintain local control over local land uses, including but not limited to short-term rentals, industrial solar installations, industrial wind turbine installation, battery storage installation, and sand and gravel mining.
Second. Susan,
Yes.
David's absent, Debbie,
Discussion.
go ahead, have at it.
Why is there sand and gravel mining in here?
Why is it in there?
Because it's part of what they're trying to control, or what they've passed to control. We would rather have that locally controlled.
We already do that.
You got it.
No, county did.
The state, just took those rights away.
Yeah.
All the things that are listed here, they just passed a law to control.
Anyways,
could
all
you-
right. All right, moving on. Debbie, yes or no?
Right now, they have a state law and a federal law stating that you can't put solar or wind on viable property, farm property. You guys done broke that law by letting them put it on Schultz's property. Okay, now it looks like you're trying to stop people from moving their dirt around.
No.
Can you state case law on this? Because if you seem to know this, where's the case law on this?
Try looking it up.
No, I don't have to.
I
I'm
do
not the one
more,
that made the
let me
claim.
put it
Where's
this
the
way,
case law on
Linda.
this?
I do more research by accident than any of you do on purpose.
All right, look, I was calling a vote and it got
A
up.
or nay?
It's either yes or
So
no.
what did
Debbie.
Fuqua Frey say? A or nay? You want the resolution or not?
I'll go ahead and vote for it, but I'm here to tell you, you
Okay.
guys are
Alright,
doing
yes.
anything,
Linda.
redoing what the federal and the state law already does.
Gonzi,
Linda?
yes?
Wait, don't do that.
I already said it, you just didn't hear it from down there.
All right, Chris?
No.
Okay, Shelby, yes, Kim?
Yes.
All right, moving on. All right,
Ridiculous.
all right.
Do you mind if I choose my?
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you need me for anything else?
No, you can run. I mean, go.
I have a trial in the morning.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, all right,
Thank
thanks.
Yeah, they want the best of both worlds.
Well, I apologize.
All right, thanks.
There's
All right,
nothing to
moving on.
apologize for.
Moving on, reports. I want to do my utility report first so they can leave. Go ahead.
You can pull that up.
No, it's fine, I think they can.
That's all right, break
Can I just
everything.
throw it on the
There you
floor?
go. Throw it around.
Sorry.
Alan, how much did mic cost?
That much.
You have to buy your mic down.
That's good, I guess. Utility report, over the course of the last month, we've had a couple of power outages that we've had to go back and forth to lift stations. One occurred during 6 p.m., around 6 p.m., and the other at 1:30 at night. So the one at 1:30 at night actually took out Lincoln Pump Station, which is right over here. Not took it out, but there's no power. You guys don't have any standby power, so we actually came in, ran power to that one. We went to Lincoln Pines and Bellmead, just made sure everybody's up. It was on, I think, within 5 hours. Water loss is at 24%, set stagnant, basically the same rate that it was last month. Lead and copper testing has been completed. We're looking at submitting the Eagle report to that. Backup pump for Whitaker lift station was received. It's tagged and labeled. Put in our storage unit. As of Monday, we started flushing the hydrants. So this is more of a maintenance thing at this point. So over